This is a Jermyn Street Theatre audio introduction for The Waves by Virginia Woolf, adapted by Flora Wilson Brown, directed by Julia Levi. It runs from the 16th of April to the 23rd of May 2026 at Jermyn Street Theatre, located at 16B Jermyn Street, London, SW1Y 6ST, an intimate basement theatre of 70 seats. This introduction is intended to give vision-impaired theatregoers an advanced description of the set, the characters, their costumes, and other visual elements before coming to see the play. It may contain some minor spoilers. The play lasts approximately 95 minutes with no interval. The overview on the Jermyn Street website begins with a quote, "But here and now we are together." Synopsis: Rhoda, Bernard, Susan, Neville, Ginny, Louis. They begin by the coast, then school, youth, forming, swelling, terror, joy, working, falling, fame, grief, alone, together. The Waves is a tender, thrilling story about growing up together. Major new talents Flora Wilson Brown, The Beautiful Future is Coming, 5 stars, Broadway World, and Julia Levi, Radiant Boy, 5 stars, What's on Stage, unite to bring Virginia Woolf's masterpiece to heart-thumping life. The set. The stage is decorated entirely in silver and grey. The top third of the walls are covered with reflective silver foil and painted light grey beneath. Although the walls look solid, with a slight rippling texture, they are constructed from dense foam insulation boards, which will become relevant at several points during the play. When you first arrive, there will be some letters, maybe even complete words, scratched into the walls. Then, during the play, at 23 minutes, then 67 minutes, and again at 78 minutes, the characters will take pens and continue these scratchings. When I visited, there was but one complete word, they, but several beginnings of words were added by the end of the play. These are permanent and will be added to throughout the show's running, adding quotes and musings from the story. Depending on when you visit the theatre, there may indeed be significantly more added, and you can ask the Jermyn Street staff to tell you what is there. There is a single door leading backstage and to the toilets stage left, your right-hand side when facing the stage. There is a protruding section stage right about the size of a shower cubicle, with a metal shelf mounted on its front. There is a removable panel in the wall of this section, which when removed at around 30 minutes adds a second doorway backstage. The removed panel then stands against the back wall until it is employed as a tabletop on trestles at 45 minutes, covered with a tablecloth for one of several restaurant scenes. A wooden bench sits against the stage right wall, before the protruding section. It is brought centre stage at various points throughout the play, along with several other plain metal chairs and a stool brought from backstage. The majority of the floor is occupied by a raised platform about a foot high, also painted light grey. It extends to the far wall stage right, but not to the back wall, or fully to the front, or stage left, where there are a few feet of lower level gap. At the very start of the play, when the characters are children, a square central panel is removed from this platform and earth is revealed beneath, with cut flowers atop it. This earth then remains visible through this hole in the stage for the rest of the play. Pinned to the back wall are a number of items: a yellow ticket, a pink flower, a poem and a telegram, both on white paper. The only other detail visible is the fire alarm, upper stage left, also silver in colour, blending in with the silver background, and this you will frequently hear incorporated into the soundscape of the show. The lighting. The entire stage ceiling is covered by a huge white light box. The play begins with a white flash from the overhead light box. These white flashes are used throughout the play, accompanied by a storm-like sound, to signify both shifts in time and also in the mental state of central character Rhoda. This overhead light is fairly harsh and is used to light certain scenes with more tension, in contrast to the warmer house lights. There is also lots of use of spotlighting, either to isolate a character, especially Rhoda, but also to signify the warm glow of the sun in exterior scenes. Another significant lighting moment is that of the club scene at 39 minutes. The stage will strobe with disco lights of flashing red and blue, but as the music fades, these disco lights will retreat into the doorways where the characters not in the scene will cluster. The characters, their costumes, and some certain action. This section contains some minor spoilers. All the characters begin the play as 5-year-old children, wearing white t-shirts with their names printed in block letters across the front. As they reach adolescence at 12 minutes 30, marked by thunder and flash, the boys remove their white t-shirts and dress into shirts and shoes. The girls do the same 6 or 7 minutes later. Another such transition at around the half-hour mark sees the characters enter their next stage of life, one by one putting on their adult clothes, suits, ties, etc. The transition at 45 minutes sees them all put on coats. They remove them at 66 minutes. At each one of these transitions, Rhoda lags behind, always changing her costume later than the others. Rhoda is played by Ria Zmitrovic, a 35-year-old white woman of 5'3" with blue eyes and medium-length blonde straight hair. At the very start of the play, she is singled out from the others, spotlit at their centre, facing the audience to speak, as the others all face the wall. She alone wears a black oversized grandad coat. As a child in a white t-shirt and a long dark skirt, Rhoda re-enters after the others with a large metal basin in which she floats petals. At 10 minutes, she makes a large, simple drawing on the back wall with a white paint pen, describing what she draws. It stays for the duration. The paint may run. As an adolescent, she wears a fitted white shirt and purple Mary Jane shoes. She often observes the interactions of the others from the side, in contrast to the others, who face the wall when not in scene. Her demeanour and stance are often quite withdrawn. At 28 minutes after the first day of summer, while the others are throwing flowers, Rhoda removes the yellow ticket from the wall and crumples it. Ria also plays the character of Percival, who has a more confident stance. Ria often states Percival's actions without actually doing them. During the disco club scene, she briefly plays Percival while Louis plays Rhoda. At 47 minutes, Rhoda eventually puts her coat back on, several minutes later than the others, only to almost immediately remove it on arrival at the restaurant. Nearing the play's end, Rhoda, alone on stage, tears down the wall of the protruding section, revealing the others all clustered behind it. As mentioned, the other characters, when not active in the current scene, often stand facing the back wall, especially in the first half of the play. Their faces are partly reflected, although distorted, in the silver wall. Neville is played by Pedro Leandro, a 32-year-old Mediterranean slim man of 6'1" with brown eyes and black hair in a mullet style. He starts off wearing a white vest and relaxed maroon suit trousers, then adds loafers, a silk neckerchief, and a matching maroon double-breasted suit jacket. He is gentle and reserved in his movements. It is Neville who removes the section of wall from the protruding section, just before he puts on his suit jacket, and he who takes the telegram and the poem off the back wall to read. Bernard is played by Tom Very, a white man of 5'11", an average build, with blue eyes and wavy blonde brown-red hair. He starts off wearing brown wide trousers with his white t-shirt, and later adds brown worn boots, stripy shirt, and eventually a fluffy white and blue jumper. As a child, Bernard digs at the earth with a trowel and listens to a sea snail shell. He moves with arms flailing. At boarding school, he and Susan sit beneath the white tablecloth. He remains generally animated throughout. At 30 minutes, he has a bottle of wine that he shares and spills on the white tablecloth. By the time you see the play, this tablecloth will be considerably stained. Susan is played by Breffni Holahan, a 33-year-old white woman of tall, medium build with blue-grey eyes and shoulder-length curly dark brown hair. She wears high-waisted trousers with her child's white t-shirt and later changes into a loose-fitted white shirt with a handful of very small sunflowers embroidered on it and big brown boots with thick socks. She moves in a fairly abrupt manner. Eventually, she adds a salmon-coloured waistcoat and ties back her hair. She serves wine in the restaurant. At the end, she gives Bernard back his shell and they pick flowers. Ginny is played by Sayakira Moeladi, an Indonesian woman in her mid-20s, 5'2" with a smallish build, with very dark brown eyes and long black hair. She wears a long red skirt for the whole show and changes into blue tights and red ballet shoes in scene 2, putting the flower from the back wall in her hair. At 25 minutes, Ginny stands centre stage and the others turn, their arms upraised, about her, adding yet further to her generally confident demeanour. She later puts on an asymmetric yellow top that has a cowl neck and has makeup in scene 3. And for scene 4 and scene 8, she wears a beige wool coat with a fur trim. At 75 minutes, she puts on sunglasses. Louis is played by Archie Blackhouse, a 35-year-old 6'1" man with brown skin and average build. Brown eyes and black curly hair, short on the sides and longer on top with quite a few greys coming through. He wears a blue suit, starting only with the trousers of course, and later adding a tie, then a blue blazer, and eventually a big grey coat when he goes to dinner and gets caught in the rain. Louis is arguably the most withdrawn of the 3 men. At 63 minutes, he enters with 6 candles and hands them out to each of the characters. They light them and eventually carry them to the metal shelf stage right, where they form a little shrine that the characters gather around. At the end of the play, he drops a single flower onto the patch of earth. Finally, a lasting image from the play is from 52 minutes, shortly before the candles are brought out, when all but Rhoda stand facing the wall as she speaks, sprinkling red confetti from their pockets. Then they turn and toss the confetti outwards across the stage towards the audience in a flash of light. For any other information, including access needs, please call the administration line and ask to speak to Penny Horner. We look forward to seeing you at the performance.